Welcome to the Wootz podcast, the first podcast of 2017. And I'm excited. It's been a long time coming. There's been a lot of revisions that have taken place and a lot of thinking and a lot of requests to bring the podcast back. So I'm glad to be back in the studio, to have an amazing guest with me. And we're going to get right into it. So I am proud to introduce and excited to introduce my friend, Jez, aka Hipster Veggie. What's happening?
Hey, hi! I'm so excited to be here, man. I'm like bursting. When I walked in here, I was just like, this is going to be great. Thank you so much for having me, man.
Well, first things first, I'm always intrigued by names and the inspiration behind names. I think it's really important. It sets a tone for someone's style and character. So what is, not even who is, what is a hipster veggie?
Someone asked me this a few weeks ago. They must have seen my business
so it's fresh
card.
in your mind.
Yeah, they were like, what's a hipster veggie? And I was like, it's me. Like, I didn't know how to say it.
Yeah.
The name kind of came about because like hipsters are like the archetype of irony, right? Like they just like, if a hipster's doing something, like it's just so ironic. And when I went vegetarian, it was just such an ironic thing. So it just kind of came about like that, just being really ironic and going with this whole trend of like being vegetarian, then I'm going to go vegan. And I'm pretty hipsterist myself. Like I chill in Shoreditch. I wear these glasses, do you know what I mean?
Fair enough.
So it fit my personality.
And what got you started? So, I mean, I think we got the name out of the way. If you could maybe introduce what it is you do, and then I'd love to speak to you a bit more about that as well.
Yeah. So I make YouTube videos about health and well-being. So I make healthy recipes, but they taste amazing. So it's not about being healthy and like restricting your taste buds and being like, you're going to go on a diet and we're going to put like this mental prison in your head and you can't eat this and you can't do this. It's just like eating really good, wholesome food and looking after your body. So that's what I do with the recipes. I also do DIY videos. So like things like perfumes and things like what else is
listen,
there?
It's funny you mentioned that. I was watching that. That's some amazing we'll get into that. That's something I want to touch on. But I know you've got on the playlist the DIY natural living, what you eat in a day, your vegan tutorials, and touching on that. So you're vegan.
Yeah.
Something I'm not going to go into because I think it's just a long-winded debate of you know where I'm going with this. I'm not interested in the do's and don'ts and what's better and what's not.
Yeah.
I think what's more interesting is your decisions that got you to that place.
Yeah.
And what made you decide to... So were you a meat eater at one point?
Yeah.
Okay, so yeah. So what got you to that place? What decisions happened in your life that made you want to change your dietary lifestyle?
So yeah, throughout my whole life, like until I was 23, I'm 25 now.
Yeah.
I ate meat just because that's how I was brought up. Just didn't
Fair
know any
enough,
different, right? And then when I left uni,
Plenty of lamb and
everything,
and chicken,
all of it, lamb, chicken,
tandoori,
keema, everything.
all of it went. Yeah,
used
fair
to love like because I went Brunel, so like in Southfield a lot, Shahi
you got access
naan.
to everything.
Yeah, that
absolutely.
was like the best thing ever. So yeah, when I moved home back from uni, just that summer, I was just like, yo, let me try going vegetarian for a month, see what happens. Because my sister's vegetarian. In fact, both of my sisters went vegetarian the year before I came back from uni. And I was just like, you lot are nuts.
Okay,
I was that
enough.
guy. I was just like, you guys are crazy. Like, what are you doing? But I was like, okay, let me just try it for a month, see what happens. So I did it for a month. And I genuinely did think that I was going to go back to like eating meat. But I just felt better. And I was like, okay, this makes sense to me. This makes sense to how I feel. And then that kind of naturally progressed the more I read and the more I kind of started chilling with people who were on this kind of wave. It just kind of made sense for me to like play around with dairy and be like, okay, how does my body feel when I don't eat dairy? Let's test this out. And I felt great. So it just kind of stuck that way. It also then like that kind of progressed into the health thing. Because like, as you know, like it's more about health for me than it is about like animal injustice. Obviously, that's a big part of it. But health is like the foundation of Hipster Veggie. Because a lot of my family and friends and people around me are getting sick. And it's not, like the sniffles or anything, stuff like cancer, heart disease, obesity, which a lot of people in the Punjabi community see. And it's just kind of
Which was never the
questioning that.
case back in the day, by the way.
Tell me more about that.
We didn't, these things were anomalies for our community to have, because we didn't have access to the foods. Like I've spoken to my parents about this a few times. Things like barfiyan, mithaiyan, and all these things, they were they served their purpose in Punjab, which is they were treats. You didn't have access to them at every gurdwara you went to or every function. They came around once a month.
That's
Therefore,
scary, right?
It's you see the shift, and that really was an awakening, because it's like now pretty much the standard is you get a box of laddu for pretty much anything, right?
Yeah.
But back then it was that only came around once in a while. So as with anything, small doses, it's not the end of the world. Now the term small dose doesn't really exist, because it's every dose.
Yeah.
It's every fraction of it. Just I want to touch back on something. Your sister's motivations, were they the same as you, that they just wanted to try it and see what it meant, or were they vegetarians their whole lives?
My eldest sister, like, she's very driven by Sikhi. So I think I said that wrong, actually. So one of my sisters went vegetarian the year before. My other sister had been vegetarian for probably about 6-7 years.
Yeah.
So she was vegetarian. And
Okay, yeah.
she faced the same thing. I was just like, what the hell? Like, what are you doing? Even back then.
Yeah.
So she's like into Sikhi. So she kind of changed her lifestyle based with that. My other sister, hers was just kind of like, let me just see what happens. Yeah. And she enjoyed it. And she's also gluten intolerant. So it really made a difference to her digestion. So that was really cool to see how that changed.
And you brought up a really interesting point there again, that your decision for turning vegetarian was more to do with it made you feel better. And I can totally relate to that, because those were my reasons as well. It wasn't for faith related. I actually went to there's like I don't know what you'd call him, maybe a motivational speaker or a life coach called Anthony Robbins. And I attended his event. And part of the challenge was go vegan for 16 days. I think it was like 14 to 16 days.
Okay.
And I'm cut from the cloth. It's like, challenge accepted. So
that is so you.
You know what I mean? Like, that's what it was. So it's just like, all right, well, it's not going to kill me, right? I've got nothing to lose. But the way it made me feel.
So you went vegan for 16 days?
Yeah. And I was like, I feel good. And that for me is the biggest test, that this wasn't put upon me like it wasn't put upon you. You tested it yourself, and it happened to be that for your body and for yourself, you felt better.
Yeah.
And I think that's really cool, because that's how I felt. It was just like, I mean, I haven't stuck to the vegan part, but the vegetarian part stuck with me since. Happened to be that as a Sikh, vegetarian is the pushed option, but it just happened to be that for me, it's never same thing. I agree with you that I love animals, but that's not my primary reasoning. It just happened to be that I feel better. And for me, the ethics side, we'll get into that later actually.
Yeah.
But so moving forward again, so you've turned vegetarian. What takes you from changing your lifestyle to wanting to share that lifestyle?
Okay, let's be really real here.
Yeah.
When I graduated, I had like big dreams of getting that graduate scheme job in London, and like I'm going to be so rich and I'm going to be balling and I'm going to have a house by 25 and a mortgage, and hello, I'm 25 now, I ain't got none of that shit. And then I got my first job and I fucking hated it. It really, really, really killed me.
What was it?
Graphic design.
Okay, not the worst of jobs.
It's not a corporate job.
Yeah, fair play.
Still a 9 to 5.
Yeah.
Still in that construct, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah, after like being there for like, when was it? June, July, August, September, October, November, 5 months, I was like, I can't do this. Like, it's killing me. So I quit. And then I went to Nepal for 10 days. Like, I was just like, I can't do it. And then I came back and I got another job, because that's what I thought you were supposed to do.
Right.
Like, you have to get another job. And all through doing this, I was starting to blog. So as like I quit my job and stuff. And then I got a job in a fashion place, like doing graphic design again. That killed me even more. Like, it literally sucked my soul away. The people there were so they weren't on my wave, innit? They were lovely people, but it was just nothing that I wanted to be surrounded with.
So what had you studied at Brunel? Graphic design?
Product design.
Product design, okay.
Yeah, but graphic design was where I did my placement doing graphic design, and it's just something I've always interned from when I was like 18. every
Okay.
summer doing graphic design at different companies. So I had a massive portfolio of graphic design. I loved doing it.
So you enjoy the field. Is the field's not the thing?
I still do it
Yeah.
freelance, but it's on my terms.
Well, I can see it come out in your videos. So,
Hey, that's
yeah,
wicked.
yeah.
That's so good to hear.
Game, recognized game. It's all good.
Good.
So let me ask you then, because I think you've touched on something really important there, and it's a difficult paradigm to come to terms with, especially at a younger age, which is you very quickly realized that wasn't something for you. And definitely growing up in our community, and I don't knock it, I think it's a brilliant trait to have, but if taken too far, it can become dangerous, is we know how to work. And as a result, we will suck it up.
Yes.
Especially knowing the stories we've heard of our parents.
Yes.
So, I can't complain about my 38 hours when my dad will say, 60 hours was a normal week, right?
Dude.
So it's not, I guess in some instances, the expectation is set that we work hard, but at the same time, you found something that didn't speak to you. And what, if you remember, what was it that you felt that made you feel like, this isn't me, this don't feel right?
Like waking up in the morning when I don't want to wake up. Like I don't want to be awake when it's dark outside and rainy. I would not choose to leave my house at this time.
Okay.
But I have to.
Right.
I get home at some stupid o'clock and I don't see my mum some days. That's not a life that I wanted to live. I was just like, this is not okay. And that's when I was like, do you know what? Let me see how this blog, like I see people doing it. Do you know what I mean? I can do it. If other people can do it, I can do it. So that's when I was like, all right, let me just try this. And that's when it kind of started. I still had part-time jobs. I was working in like social media, which was perfect, and graphic design and marketing. I think I've had like 5 or 6 jobs since I've graduated, which was like 3 years ago.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was just chopping and changing and seeing what was good for me. I was also a teacher for a year.
Right.
And that was like horrific. Like teaching is like a deep...
You need stamina for it, don't you? Yeah.
Boy,
yeah.
you need something. Like it was deep. And I think that was the last straw. Like when was it? Easter holidays. That was my last day of teaching. And
The one that just went?
yeah, just went.
Oh, okay.
No
Yeah, because I know
more.
most of your snaps prior,
Were in.
it looked like a teaching
Yeah,
environment. Okay,
exactly.
so this whole year you've been teaching.
Yeah, so I started last year in January, and yeah, I left in April.
What year?
And
What year were you teaching? What year group?
I was teaching A-level media studies.
Yeah, see, I don't know if I want to mess with kids that close to it.
I loved it.
Yeah?
They were like my brethrens. They
Okay,
like follow me on
okay.
Instagram now. Do you know what I mean? Like they're my homies.
So, okay, you were hustling. There's a difference here. You were increasing your following. You know, that's what you're doing at work. Let's get it
Do
straight.
you know what? That's how I actually got the job, through my YouTube channel.
Wow.
Because so one of my other friends was working there. She was working part-time.
Yeah.
They needed someone to fill up the other days. I had done a talk there to the students about creativity in media, because that's like a module that they do in A-level. And I was just, I just showed them my YouTube videos. I was like, you can do this and that, and how I edited with the music, just basic stuff. That day happened to be parents' evening, and all the children were like saying, that girl who came in was so cool. Just happened to be on the same day. Also on that same day, the teacher who was working on the other days was like, I don't want to do this anymore. Like handed in her notice. So they're like, whoa, we need a teacher. Get that girl in. I don't have a PGC. Just putting it out there.
Yeah. Of
I'm not a
course.
teacher.
Yeah.
But I was like, yeah, cool. Fuck it, I'll do it. So I did it for a year. It was hard, but I learned. I would never change it.
Life experience, right?
Yeah, proper cool. Especially when you've got to do cover lessons for maths year 10 and you're just like, bruh, what do I do? And like the kids won't listen and you're just sitting there like, when you're just that substitute teacher and you're like, yeah, I'm actually getting the piss taken out of me right now. All those years of me taking the piss out of teachers. Karma right here. But yeah.
That's funny. Well, something you touched on actually, and it'd be interesting to see what kind of impact this had on your journey. But you mentioned after you quit one of the design jobs, you just bopped out and went to Nepal's for like 10 days.
Yeah.
What was the experience of just literally cutting everything off and going to a first time there?
Yeah.
Yeah. So just cutting it all off and going to a completely foreign, if not relatable because it's the East, environment.
It was like nothing I'd ever experienced before, but it was amazing. Like being there and like, it's like India, right? So it's not like luxurious.
Yeah.
But it felt really familiar, and it was really cool just going. There's no Wi-Fi. You don't have a phone. It's just being really there in the moment and enjoying that human experience of being around new smells and new food and like monkeys around you. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, we did a trek in like the Himalayan base. Are they foothills? I think they're called.
Yeah.
That was a killer because we were like, yeah, it's gonna be fine. Like, we didn't anticipate anything. Like,
You raggo like going in your Converses, like.
I didn't go in my Converses, but like one of the dudes that took us was in his flip flops, and I was like, if dude's going in his flip flops, like I'm gonna be cool.
No, you don't mess with the natives,
Can't
innit?
underestimate that
life.
shit. Like, for real, really, really underestimated that. And get to like, we're not even like 10 minutes in, and we're like dying. But yeah, no, it was great, and I kind of found a pattern in that when I feel really overwhelmed, I book a ticket to somewhere that's familiar.
Well, that's really interesting because I know you travel to Canada quite a lot.
Yeah.
My Canada sister.
Yeah.
And I don't know how you feel about this, but I feel like when I travel, it gives me a different depth of the world, and it increases my understanding of humanity, because there are such vast differences depending on where you travel.
Yeah.
And I noticed the difference between people who have never left the country, whatever that is, States, England, wherever, versus those who travel. You develop a different appreciation for just your fellow human beings.
Yeah.
I don't know, did you experience anything like that it gave you a different perspective going out there to Nepal and then coming back home?
I think one thing that really stuck to me with Nepal was like, okay, it's so similar to India, but I just felt so safe.
Interesting.
Like,
okay.
out there, like I could walk around by myself and there would be no men looking at me, or do you know what I mean? Like, when you're in India, no matter how much like you try and, I don't know, just blend in, you always get men staring at you, and it's just so intense.
It's an inbred habit there. It's just ingrained in every generation. So I know what you're talking about.
For real.
And we'll get to that later. You've just touched on something. You just giving me my segue.
Okay.
We're chatting about something off air. You're giving me my segue.
There you
so
go. We
we'll
got
get to
this.
that.
All organic. I love this.
So bringing it back to the birth of Hipster Veggie.
Yeah.
You start blogging.
Yeah.
What takes you to the next step of going from a blog to a video?
Okay, so this is funny reliving all of this. I've never actually like spoken about this out loud.
It's
so
good to get it
quite
out
cool.
because you appreciate your journey.
Yeah.
You get to see that, I started from here. You know, I was dealing with snot-nosed kids and now I'm on the
Now look at
10K followers, you know?
Okay, so from blogging, I was on a web series called Corner Shop Show.
Yeah.
Yeah, back in when I had blonde and green hair, and like I just cringe at it.
I forgot you had that. Yeah.
That was a deep time.
How you time see?
Yeah,
you know, it's okay.
It was right for when it was, I guess. It's still like you can. I'm squirming, man.
I gave you my back in the day story, so it's all good.
Alright, cool. Yeah. I had blonde and green hair. Everyone knows about that phase of my life because that's when it all like really kicked off. But yeah, so I was in that web series, and everyone else like who was in that series, obviously whilst we're on set, like we're chilling, we're talking, we're catching joke, and I get a feel of like the people who are like doing this, like I'm in a 9-to-5 job at that time. Everyone else is doing their own creative thing, like, and one of the girls, Saima, who is like a huge inspiration to me for starting, like, big up Saima, she's an amazing woman. She told me about her YouTube channel, and I was like, oh, like, how did you start a YouTube channel? Like, that's interesting. Because the only like YouTube channels I had seen were like huge people, like, you know, Superwoman, like so big. It's like, for me, I can't even, at that point, I couldn't even fathom how you would even start.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So being with someone, bearing in mind, Simon's got like a couple 100,000 subscribers at that point. She's probably excelled from that right now. But being able to be with someone and them just breaking it down and being like, just get a camera and start, like, it's not that deep. So I was like, all right, cool. So I did it. And that's pretty much how I started the YouTube game, which was hella cringe. First, like, 10 videos. And this is, like, advice to anyone who wants to start YouTube. Just do it, man. Your first 10, 15 videos are going to be cringe. Just push through it and just enjoy the cringeness of it.
It's getting comfortable with yourself, right? It's not the easiest thing when you're the actor, the director, the producer, the editor,
trying to get it in focus.
The script, trying to get it in focus. Yeah, I remember hitting you up with some tips with the video editing. But so, all right, you've done your first video, and why health? What impact had it had at that point that you were like, "What? I want to start Hipster Veggie."
Okay, so my blonde hair, it started from that. That's why it's so important, and I do talk about my blonde hair quite a lot because it did kind of the health thing. It was already starting because I changed my diet. I noticed changes in my body, but then my hair, when I dyed it blonde, like what hair? It fell out. Like I had a third of the hair that I had, and I was just like, damn, like bleaching your hair is deep. So I had to try and like my curls are like, everyone knows me for like curly hair, you know. My curls went and I was just like, shit, like.
Because of the dyeing?
It was because of the dyeing,
Wow.
yeah. It was because you literally strip the pigment in your hair. So like you're putting your hair under a lot of stress. And with curly hair, it doesn't want to be touched. You can't like, it doesn't want to be heat treated. It doesn't want to be conditioned too much. It doesn't want to be combed. Just leave it. Hence why my hair is just always like this. So yeah, that blonde hair, I remember going to Boots and just looking at the shelf and being like, I need to just get all of this stuff. Just used loads of it. It made my hair soft. It didn't bring the curl pattern back. And then I found Mrs. Millie's, this like natural hair care brand, right? Randomly found them on Instagram. And I ordered it, and I remember literally thinking, this is so expensive, what if it doesn't work? But it was my last resort. I had no other choice, so I bought it. And it worked. And I was like, wow, this natural stuff works. Like, there's some truth behind this. People are always saying, like, you know, natural remedies, do this, drink this, Barney, drink that. And I was just like, whatever. I tried it, and I was like, this has just saved my hair. Everyone needs to know about this. And that's, it kind of carried on from there.
Well, that's amazing. So it was actually having such a positive experience with effectively an unknown brand.
Yeah.
You know, it hasn't got L'Oreal's multi-million marketing budget behind it, but
they were in their first year at that point. So really baby brand,
So you took a chance. You legit took a chance with your head.
It's like I had to. Literally with my head because I had to.
You know, I get it for a woman that your hair, it's a big deal. Yeah. So doing anything that could risk it getting damaged or changing in a way that you can't recover from, that's a big deal. So you took that risk, but it inspired you to actually want to talk about it.
Yeah.
And so that was it a product review then was your first?
Yeah. I mean, that was a blog. I did a blog post about it.
Yeah.
Until this day, the amount of messages I get from women with curly hair who are saying, my curl pattern this, I've dyed my hair and it's gone. And I'm just like, bruh, just buy this product. I swear to you. And they're like apprehensive, but they see the pictures. And that's why it's so important for me to share that journey, because it's like, just look at what it did for me. I know genuinely from the bottom of my heart that it will work for you. Like, just try it.
Yeah. Well, that's amazing. And so from there, what was the next step?
What was the next step from the hair? So then I did a video. Oh my gosh, I did a video about like what Coca-Cola looks like when you like melt it, and like what it literally could turn into when it's in your body, and it's just like sludge based. It's just sugar, right? And when all the pani like evaporates from it, it's just like sludge. So it's like, what is that doing in your body kind of thing? So that was pretty cool. And people were just like, ew, I'm drinking this. Like, what the hell? And I'm like, yeah, it's toilet cleaner. Stop it. Ramdev had some truth in what he was saying, man. Like, he knew what he was doing. And then, it just kind of progressed from that, getting a bit better at understanding the camera, being a bit more comfortable with being on the camera, because just knowing, I think because it was such a unknown area, there was a lot of criticism, of course, and I was so open to that. But then once I got a better understanding of why I was doing what I was doing, I started to get more confident in the stuff that I was saying, and that came out in the videos, and then people started to like watching the videos. And then, it just kind of evolved from there into like food videos, because with the food, it's like everyone eats food every day. Yeah. It's a huge part of our life.
Yeah, absolutely.
And if we don't have a good relationship with food, I mean, it's just affected by so many things, consumption in general. Like, there's something that I was reading about called primary foods, and it's like to do with your career, your joy, your social life, your home environment, your home cooking, like these 12 things. And then you've got your secondary food, which is the food that you actually eat. So these are all just things that you hunger for. So I'm just trying to understand, like, you know how we were talking about consumption, like you did things because it felt right to you. Yeah. When you went vegan for 12 days, you felt right. And
16
days. Oh, yeah, sorry.
It's my like one claim to fame. Yeah, I'm going to hold on to that.
Yeah, vegan for 16 days. Go on.
Big in the game.
Big up. 16 days. Because it felt right to you.
Yeah.
And I think it's important.
And it was a challenge.
You had to come with the bat and you had to like smash the challenge, of course. It's just important to know that when you're hungry for something, anything, food is generally the thing that we associate with hunger, but it's associated with like your home life and your career and your love. I've noticed a lot of people speaking about if there is an absence of love in someone's life, generally it affects their food. If someone's not happy with their career, it affects their food, right?
Wow. When you say affects, as in it affects their dietary choice, or affects what they eat, or whether they eat or not? As in, do you eat more because of emotional?
Yeah, it could be either way, right? Like bio-individuality plays a huge part. So maybe if you feel stressed, you might eat more. Maybe if I feel stressed, I might not eat at all. I know a lot of people, there's like anxiety.
Hold on. For the uneducated, what is bio-individuality?
Uneducated, you know. It's just everyone's different. Our upbringing makes us different. You were born in this part of London. I was born and raised in that part of London. You know, different homes and stuff like that. Just everyone is different. So, you know, even saying, just go vegan, it's not going to work for everyone. Be realistic, right?
That's deep for you to say that, because I think that's very reflective for you to have the maturity to understand that there isn't a one shoe fits all, and it is individualistic, and it does depend on people's lifestyles and circumstances. Not to say it can't work for anyone, but it just may not be the right choice for you under your current circumstances.
Exactly that.
Interesting.
And with my health coaching, so like when I do like client consultations, like we talk about their primary foods mainly. So like these 12 things, how are they going for you? And you know, like on Pro Evo, when you have like that hexagon of the player, and like you can see their attributes going in and out. So I've basically drawn this circle of like these 12 attributes, and I just send it to them. I'm like, you don't have to like share this with me, but just fill it out. And you put a circle towards the periphery of the circle if you feel like you're abundant in that attribute. You put a little dot in like the middle if you feel like you're lacking. And it's like a visual, like, you know, these people have it in front of them and they're like, wow, I don't feel satisfied in this part. Now let me look at my food diary that I've just completed. How is that making, like, how does that, you know, is there a correlation? And then I work with them to be like, let's change this. Let's like see if we can tweak your lifestyle a little bit. A lot of people say that their career is something that they're not happy with, but I'm not going to sit there and be like, quit your job, just quit it.
Yeah.
So it's about tweaking these things to
being
like
realistic, right?
Exactly. And being like, all right, if I can't take, if right now I take an hour lunch break at my desk, maybe I should take an hour lunch break outside. That might make my day be a bit better.
Move around. Okay, so we got a lot going on.
That was a mad
here.
tangent. I'm so sorry.
That's brilliant, because I want to come back to that.
Okay.
The health advice is something, because I've seen you go hard on that on Snapchat. So we will get to that, but just...
Do you know what? If you do feel like I'm like, I when I get excited, I just go like ding, 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 ding.
That's,
so like,
listen, that's what it's about. That's why I said this is a conversation.
Okay, as long as it's making sense.
It all comes out. That's my job. I'll try and bring it back in and,
cool.
and give it some direction. You just let it flow.
Cool.
But so you've created the videos, and you've moved from the sort of descriptive blog and the product blog, and then you decide to go with food, and then you made some cool, I guess, comedy videos, in the sense of like 7 things that people will say to a vegan, and I like the fact that you took that approach and you gave it a light-hearted, and you just like, you left yourself open to be like, come at me.
Yeah.
You know, I'm going to poke fun at myself. What was the reasoning behind that? Because that's not easy for someone to do. It's like, often you want to defend yourself and sort of, my path is holier than thou. Right? My stuff is right. You better listen or you're wrong, you know? But you chose to go flip on that and be like, listen, here's a day in my life. This is what I hear.
Yeah.
What inspired you to do that?
It's just funny, man.
Fair enough.
Honestly, it's just funny. And I think like a part of me like wanting to do like Hipster Veggie full time, like at that point I knew that I wanted to do it full time.
Yes.
But I also knew that life's fun. If you make it fun, like it doesn't have to be so serious and work can be fun. So just make it fun, and just have an understanding that you can't take yourself too seriously, man. You're going to be wrong sometimes, and it's alright.
And what made you decide, because I'm sure you had to deal with, like you mentioned that you got criticisms. How did you, because I think for a lot of people there is that anxiety of, if I put myself out there, then it also leaves me open to the opinions. But I've laughed to myself on more than one occasion, because I've seen you go hard back at people.
Oh really?
Yeah. You've more so on the Snapchat, but like I know on the YouTube, because the thing with YouTube is like, I'm kind of old school. So for me, it's like I come from the playground of say it to my face.
Yeah. For real.
That doesn't exist in this digital era, and
Does
therefore
not exist, man. Like,
the empowerment of individuals, because there's no repercussions of your actions.
yeah.
People go above and beyond sometimes to say things.
Bro, I got told to, I wish you, like someone legit typed out, I hope you get hit by a bus. And I was like,
Why?
why me?
But that's what scares me. It's like, it gets taken to this extreme, but how did you deal with that? How did you react to that, considering you were new to the world of making videos?
Yeah, like it
You
got
just take
to
it on
me.
Oh, okay.
No, it got to me. It's just not something I share. Like, my social media is literally just for Hipster Veggie.
Yeah.
I don't share my family on there. I don't share my nieces and nephews on there. Like, it's very much separate. When I'm with my family, my phone is genuinely like not with me, because I just think that that's a bit rude. Say if I'm here and we're having a conversation, I'm just like, yeah,
Of course.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
like,
yeah, yeah.
in that action, you're literally saying to that person, you're not really as important as this phone. And that's really fucked up.
And that's deep. I love the fact that you brought that up, because that's actually a point that was raised in more of a business setting, that if you're in a meeting with people, don't have your phone on the table. It's a sign of, not disrespect, but it's a sign of that if this vibrates or if this moves, I'm going to pay it more attention to what's going on in front of me.
Yeah.
And I think that's important. It's a level of respect that you're right. You're engaging. Be present.
Yeah.
It's not going to go away. I think I've told you off about this. I'm not sure.
You have.
But no driving and snapping.
No, you have.
Listen.
And you know, when I was on my way here, I was like, I'm going to be 10 minutes late. But I was like, I can't. Like, I'm driving. I can't tell him that. How am I going to do it? So I didn't. And I was like, I'm just going to have to be late. He'll understand. You have told me off about that.
Yeah.
And I did take that
It's
very
important,
seriously.
especially in the UK. Now that you get 6 points.
Yeah, trust me. Don't
and
do it.
and a
Don't do it.
£200 fine, it's a different thing. But I think it's really important to, I guess, it's context. We all have something important to say, or at least we like to think we do.
Yeah.
And I know I do. But it can wait. And the priority of simple things as, listen, you are in a 1 to 2 ton vehicle that can smash things into pieces, and all it takes is a little bit of distraction for that to take place.
For real.
Just
You
can
can't
wait.
control what other people are doing.
Yes,
Someone could swerve
thank
in front of you. If you're looking down, like, I know I'm a great driver in it, and any, like, I'm great at driving. But if I'm looking at my phone and for a split second a car comes, like, I can't control it.
Yeah.
What I can do is not fucking look at
Your
my phone.
attention. Wicked. So
Back to what we
that
were
puts out the
saying.
safety announcement. We've
Yeah.
covered ourselves. We're making sure the youth of today are protected.
Big up the youth. Big up the youth, them.
So let me ask you something that I really respect, a lot of, amongst many other things I respect about what you're doing, but I really respect your focus on, for you, veganism is more, I don't know why I stopped in the pause there, but yeah, veganism is more about a plant-based diet versus what can I replace my previous lifestyle with?
Yeah.
Because I've always had to think about that as well. And I ain't got a problem with it, but I know you talk a lot about this. So I'd love to speak to you more about it. But most people who decide, well, not most, but some people who decide to move on from a meat lifestyle just replace that with soy
Corn.
chicken burgers, corn.
Yeah.
And they just replace everything for flavor or taste, let's say. But I really respect that your angle was veganism is about a plant-based diet. And tell me more about that, because I think that is such a key thing to understand the difference between, because you can be a fat veggie.
Yeah,
Like,
have you heard
you
of
could-
Fat Gay Vegan?
No.
He's like a blogger, Fat Gay Vegan.
Okay.
Like, and he, I guess his gimmick is like being fat,
Yeah.
right? And like being like, I'm a vegan, but I'm fat.
Yeah.
So yeah, like you said, you can be.
And that's still unhealthy,
Yeah,
If,
so-
if your inspirations were health, that is still bad for you. Just because I put a tikki of vegan cure in something, it still would depend.
Probably worse.
Yeah, because more chemicals have gone to try and replicate
Exactly.
that
At least
thing.
if you're eating like, I don't know, like raw butter, like at least it's like it's got some organic material in it, you know what I mean?
yeah.
Like this shit, like it's made in a lab, bruv. Like that ain't food.
Yeah, exactly.
So yeah, like it's interesting because people come at me. This is something that people come at me for. So I made a video about honey. Do you remember?
Yes. Yeah.
We spoke about this before. People came at me. Oh my gosh. I think this idea of vegan, like, it's like, I mentioned it before, the mental prison. People get so obsessed with it, and it's like they just see tunnel vision, and it's like, but it comes from an animal. Like, someone messaged me the other day. I was eating dried figs, and I was like, on Snapchat, I was like, these are great. If you need like a jam donut kind of thing, like eat dry figs. And they're like, but they're not vegan. And I was like, but bruh, Leave me alone. Just stop it. So yeah, it is more about
You're forced
health.
into this position of becoming the epitome of what it means, what this terminology means. And I think that's where people get like, we've got this, we have this desire to keep looking up to people, which isn't a bad thing. Role models, I think, are incredibly important. They're inspirational. But the danger I find is if you become the epitome of what it means to be a vegan and you break a rule, you know, you went dark, you had a fig. It shouldn't shatter my perception, or it shouldn't shatter my relationship with wanting to be a vegan. Because that means I've never done it for me. I'm kind of vicariously being a vegan through you. So if you break, I break.
That's so interesting. That is so interesting. I so get that. I just need to ponder that for a second.
Go for it. But I think that's a weird thing, but we have this relationship where...
That's interesting.
Do you know what I mean? It's the God complex.
Yes, God complex.
I need something to worship. You know, that doesn't mean people are bowing to you or anything, but it's just you hold this standard and almost you act. It kind of feels like the playground. Yo, Hipster Veggie, my vegan backup. Yeah, if you bring it on the playground, listen, bruv.
Oh my god,
I'm gonna get Hipster Veggie on you, and she's gonna tell you everything about veganism, and then you're gonna go home and it's like your life is over, isn't it? That's kind of what.
For real.
That's kind of what it feels like. So when you break your rules per se, it shatters their perception of this purity, this concept of purity. And I think the way you describe it, it's more to do with, like I said, your concentration on the plant-based diet. And what does that look like? Because I know you've got friction with soy. So like what led you to that decision of your journey of plant-based versus plant-based and meat replacer?
Again, I guess it's taking it back to the consumption and how you feel. We have such a bad relationship with ourselves. We're so detached from like really ourselves and like being truthful and honest with ourselves. If you eat soy versus if you don't eat soy, like I can guarantee you will just feel different. And that is really what it was for me. When I was eating stuff like corn, because I ate like corn and meat replacements and stuff. And I was like, this like makes me feel really sluggish and I don't like it. So let me just try like not eating it as much. So it went from eating it a lot to like not eating it as much, and then being like reading stuff like the China study and the low carb fraud. And, you know, T. Colin Campbell, he's like an amazing doctor. And he has done like the best.
Hold on. Brrr, rewind. So what is the China study for people, including me? I haven't heard it. I know of it, but I haven't.
Okay.
Go.
The China study, the most comprehensive study on nutrition like done to date.
Right. Okay.
And the findings are basically if you eat a plant-based whole foods diet, you will thrive. And he basically looked at people who ate plant-based whole foods diet versus, I guess, a meat-eating diet, you could call it, and the rates of cancer. And you can pretty much guess why I'm so big on this study.
What is? I'm gonna keep bringing it back to basics. But when you say a whole food plant based, what does that look like? Just as an example.
So whole grains. So things like quinoa, amaranth, spelt. I'm big on ancient grains.
Okay.
So like not a lot of wheat. I still eat wheat because of, you know, the way that we live, but really trying to eliminate that. And also as much raw foods as you can get into your diet, which is so important. And
raw foods are?
Raw foods, uncooked fruits and vegetables. So just like pick it out, wash it, eat it just as it is. That's a whole foods plant-based diet. Plenty of grains, plenty of raw foods, plenty of pulses, legumes, just everything that grows like in Mother Nature pretty much. And
so that was your direction. And when you say you faced a lot of heat for that, what was the issue?
The heat came. All right, there's two directions. Two directions that the heat came. All right, so there's like a London vegan community.
Right. Oh no, the community got involved.
Yeah, bruh, trust me, like it's not just like the Panther community. This exists in the London vegan community too. Yeah. It was so. How do I be diplomatic about this? All right, so there's a London vegan community, and their majority kind of push for being vegan is for the animals, and I totally get that. You know, some people do it for that. Cool, do your thing. So when I put out like some videos of me like eating honey and stuff, like slowly people are like, you ain't vegan, like you can't call yourself vegan, you can't put vegan on this video. And I'm like, in my head I'm like, bro, I can do whatever the fuck I want. It's my YouTube channel, so whatever. Firstly. Secondly, like, why are you in this like mental prison mind state? Then I made that video about why I eat honey. People still weren't convinced. So that's when I had to start saying plant-based quite a lot, right?
Okay.
I had to like say that a bit more. To be honest with you, like I can't, just why put a label on it, man? I am what I am. I eat what I eat. Like I show it to people. Vegan is just the easiest place to put it. Another place that people have given me heat is like more of like the Sikh community have really come at me. Like,
really?
Yeah. I just don't talk about it. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, why would I talk about it? Because it's between me and certain individuals or whatever. Why don't you eat dairy? Like, there's a hukum that says you should eat dairy. And I'm just like, bruh, like, I'm just going based on like my human experience and how I feel eating dairy. And it doesn't make me feel good. So I'm not going to eat it. And that's all it is, right? And I think a lot of people... yeah.
All right, let me just put this out there. For anyone who may be listening, feeling a little panthically inclined, or Sikhi inclined. On the scale of things we've got to deal with as a community, your dietary choices are so far off my radar, I didn't even know they existed.
Dude.
So I just want to put that out there. As your brother, as a Khalsa, I'm just letting you know.
Thank you.
Trust me, you're not a problem. Like that baffles me. I understand. Do I understand? I'm going to try to put myself in those shoes and see it from that point of view. But this comes back to a deeper issue, and I'll try not to sidetrack this too far. But again, it's this, let me pick the easy fight. I know, here's a girl, I don't know. I can say whatever I want online. I can justify my point. I'm just going to go out on a limb here, but I'm assuming your audience is pretty varied. It's not just the Punjabi community, right?
Not at all. I think Punjabi community is like the least of my audience.
Right.
It's interesting.
So with that in mind, and on top of that, from what I've seen of your videos, you've never spoken on behalf of the Sikh community. So therefore, I can't justify any reason whatsoever in my mind why I would want to approach you from a Sikh angle and put you in any place, any box, any thing. Because it's like, well, you ain't... You didn't step onto my side of the playground, innit? So we're cool.
Yeah.
You're doing your thing. I'm doing mine. What's the issue? That's amazing.
Exactly.
That's really interesting, and that's dumb.
It's
like,
funny. It's funny. Like, it is laughable because I'm just like, okay, like realistically, how do people even know that I'm Sikh? Like, do you know what I mean? Like, I don't talk about it. I wear a kara. Like, that's about it.
There you go.
So there you go. That's how people know that I'm Sikh.
Found you.
Yeah, literally. She's wearing a kara. Let's get out of for not eating dairy.
Yeah,
like, that's one of the things. Like, okay, so we spoke about how I kind of dealt with like people coming at me and stuff before. It did get to me. I'm not even going to sit here and stunt. And it still does get to me. I have days where I'm like, wow, like that comment's really, it's deep. And if anyone says that comments don't get to them, they're fucking lying, because they do. It's hurtful.
If you have capacity for emotion, it will have an impact on you. It just over time, and I can speak on this because I went from deeply caring to I doesn't give a damn.
Yeah.
and that
doesn't give a damn.
That happened. You just build the rhino skin. You know, your skin gets thicker for it. Doesn't mean it doesn't affect you, but your threshold gets higher and higher before it affects you.
That's a really good way of putting it. I like that.
You can deal with it at higher stages.
Yeah.
As long as you're like you made a really great point earlier, which is the more truthful you are to yourself, the more comfortable you are in your own skin, the less of an impact this has, because those feelings impact you in moments of insecurity.
Yeah.
That's all it is. Like, no one in their right mind, I'm hoping, wants you to get hit by a bus.
Yeah.
I'm hoping, you know.
Yeah, I hope so too.
You know what I mean? But for whatever reason, that person felt that was the appropriate way to approach you.
Yeah.
And get their emotions felt and heard and responded to, so to speak. But yeah, back to that point, Sikh community, I got you. Don't worry about it.
Thank you. I appreciate that, man.
If anyone wants to challenge you on that, I've got plenty for them to get on with, to work with in our community.
But do you know what I mean? It's
oh man. See, I don't want to take over this podcast because now you're going into my world. And when you get into my world, the lane, you know, we can switch places. The lane will go very differently. But that is, I'll save that for another day. But that is something that it means a lot to me, that we need to understand people's parts in things. And you touched on that really beautifully, that the vegan community, or the London vegans, whatever they want to be called, they've set their criteria. But the moment you turn neo-Nazi with that criteria, the moment you turn, you know, we're going to make you blackface if you break this rules.
Yeah.
Like, what are you doing? Yeah, it's about communication. It's about understanding, and I think you made the right call by changing it to plant-based. Because for me, it's like I've had this conversation with you a few times, which is when we talk ethics. All right, cool. Were you messaging via your phone?
Yeah.
Cool. Your phone contains conflict minerals that today people are dying, getting murdered in horrible working conditions. Of what? So what's your scale? Are animals more important than humans, or do you have more consideration? I ain't gonna lie. I'm team human. I'm just saying, if there's a cat on the road and it's a choice of me swerving and killing a kid or me running over the cat, I'm sorry, cat. Hopefully you come back 8, 7, 5, however it works. But I'm team human. And when you want to talk about ethics, and I think there's a fine line, because I think, what's the organization? PETA?
Yeah.
They go hard on that angle. And I think they've pushed it so far that they sometimes go over the edge. And so they lose sensibility on the point you're trying to make.
For real.
You know, by all means, do the videos, show the horrific conditions, and hopefully, like, it convinces people to make better choices in their dietary choices. But at the end of the day, if you're hardcore vegan and I see you wearing a leather belt or like leather shoes or conflict minerals, like, unless you're saying that you are strictly team animal and your whole purpose in life is to defend the animals, then there's a lot more going on. You know what I mean? There's balance.
Yeah, you gotta just understand that like where you are isn't where everyone else is, I think. And that's something that I learned through all of that stuff, just being like, wow, these people actually care less, like in their actions. They might not think it, but in their actions they do say like, I actually care more about these animals than about people, even in the sense of like, so that's why health is such a big thing to me, because it's all about self-love,
right? Yeah.
And it all comes from a place of self-love. Because okay, for example, I was talking to my brethren the other day and he was like, I eat X, Y, and Z, and after I eat this thing I feel a chest pain and I get acid reflux for like an hour. And I'm like, all right, cool, do you eat the same thing the next day? He's like, yeah. And I'm like, but why? Like, isn't that self-harm?
Yeah.
Like, and people don't see it like that. The choices that we make in like food, it can be like poisonous to us. It could be a slow poison and you might just get acid reflux for an hour, but you're still harming yourself.
Yeah,
that's
absolutely.
still uncomfortable. So like, it's just getting that relationship back with yourself and being like, how do I feel when I do this? How do I feel when I listen to this song? How do I feel when I talk to this person? How do I feel when I eat this thing? Does it make me feel good? Then I'll keep doing it. Does it make me feel like shit? Let me step back.
And okay, I totally respect that. And I think that's so important and powerful that you take a very holistic approach. It's your primary focus is the diet and the food, but it's how it affects everything and what that plays with. Have you got any examples of where you've seen that either for yourself or with people you've worked with, that they cut certain things out or they introduce certain things and they felt those changes, or their mood, or for example?
Yeah, okay. Obviously client confidentiality, but you know, this client is cool
Person
with me.
X.
Person X.
Yeah.
Suffered with psoriasis and low self-esteem. So kind of worked with her to do like daily affirmations and like a gratitude exercise that I found really helped with me. So I encourage my clients to do it. Just literally hop out of bed and be like, what am I grateful for today? And list as many things as you can that you're grateful for. It doesn't have to be anything like mad. It can be like, I'm grateful that my cat's still meowing. I'm grateful that I can hear the birds chirping. And then also she did like daily affirmations of being like, you know, like just sit with yourself and be like, how do I feel right now? I feel X, Y, and Z. So not like trying to, not an affirmation in a sense of trying to make yourself feel a certain way. You know how you can do like visualizations, like I'm a millionaire, I'm, you know, that kind of thing. It was more just like an affirmation, like how do I feel right now?
Like self-awareness. You were making her conscious of herself. That's a
better word. Yeah, self-awareness. So like kind of introducing those two exercises and then also drastically changing her diet. But her lack of self-esteem was a huge issue because when we just changed her diet for 2 weeks, she didn't actually notice a difference in her psoriasis. And I was like, okay, cool. Let me just try this. I've read some things about it, so let's put it to the test. So we did it. She was open to like being my guinea pig. 4 weeks later, she ain't got psoriasis. And I was like,
wow.
Bam! Wow. Like, we did this. Like, and that was like so cool. And like, I'm still haven't really got over that. It's really overwhelming to be able to like help people who have been to the doctors and been like, doctors look at these people in their face and are like, there's no remedy for this. Just put this cream on and that's it. Do you know what I mean?
They write them off.
Yeah. And like I've been, okay, so said my sister has celiac disease. I hate calling it a disease. Like it's just kind of gives it a lot of power. But yeah, she has celiac disease. I've been to like...
That's the gluten intolerance, right?
Yeah, the gluten intolerance. So I've been to like doctor's appointments with her and stuff. And like doctors have literally said you'll never live a normal life. And I'm like, how the fuck can a doctor say that to someone? And I think growing up around that, I think that's like, yeah, just another inspiration behind Hipster Veggie. I just slid that one in. I don't know where that came from.
Well, hey, you're discovering it. But don't you think that's an important point that doctors are more about relief of symptoms, but from what I'm understanding of what you're saying, you're trying to root out the cause and take that out.
Oh my gosh, yes. Like that's like my favorite thing to do. Sounds so nerdy, innit? But I just love doing it.
Well, if you get it at the roots, then it's gone forever.
Yeah.
You know, I can keep trimming the hedges, but it's still going to grow back.
There you go.
The only way to take it away is take it from the roots. Well, you mentioned a good point that you said from your research. So where do you draw, because clearly your background was graphic design, product design. So where do you draw your information and research from in order to do the videos and help people?
Wow, so many places. I know I know like a couple of holistic doctors. I know people who have done like nutrition in just like the cannabis plant, like literally cannabis nutritionists, which is really interesting, like 20 years deep of just being a cannabis nutritionist. Wow. Like that's goals. I think that's so cool. Understanding just one plant on such a deep level, and it's such an important plant. I also know people who have just been on this journey for longer than me, and I'm able to vibe with them and like use their resources. I know people who are like experts in raw foods, and they're able to like point me in the right direction. So it's like from these people I'm able to like get books and get like resources from them, and even just like conversation. Like even the guinea pig thing with that girl with the psoriasis, I didn't know if it was gonna work, but you know, she was willing to take a shot, and it's like there's no harm done. And now I know maybe I can implement that a bit quicker with my next client who has a similar thing. So I guess it's a bit of trial and error, a lot of reading, and a lot of like just being around the right people who are also on that kind of journey.
But what a powerful experience that you're able to positively benefit people's lives, and more importantly, the empowerment comes through giving them the tools to maintain it. Like you're almost like, my work here is done, and as long as they maintain the advice you've given. Let's touch on that actually. So what led you to want to start offering one-on-one packages, and what do you call it? Like how do you describe what it is you offer?
Nutritional therapy. Okay. Yeah. So my sisters, for one of my birthdays, they got me like, you know, they were like, they paid for me to do a course. And I was like,
nice. Like, wicked. Respect.
Real sweet. Yeah, for real. That was like really, really sweet. And I did it, and I was like, wow, okay. And that kind of led me to be like, I can quit my job. So like I've quit my job, and now I'm like, okay, I've got to go hard with this. Let's do this. So that's how it kind of started. And you said like, you know, being able to change people's lives and give them the tools, and that's an important thing. Like I'm not trying to like be like, yo, 6 months, like let me make some money from these people. Like it's not that. I work with these people maximum for like 6 weeks, and a lot of stuff I give a lot of free time, because like I've
seen the videos, I've seen the snaps. I know you do, 100% you do.
Yeah, a lot of people ask for discounts and stuff, and my rates aren't expensive. Like they're really not.
Friend, please.
Like for real, like you've DM'd me twice and now we're friends. You want like a friend discount. Like if you really believed in me, you would not. Yeah. But you know, I get it. Everyone's struggling and stuff. That's why I make my rates as fair for me, but also fair for the other person. I'm not trying to rip anyone off. I genuinely just want to live in a world where people are healthy. Like that's genuine from the bottom of my heart. That's why I've quit my job. I am broke, but I'm happy because I'm able to help people. And that's so weird saying it out loud, because I think... I get it. I mean, I think it's important to make that differentiation as well, that when we talk about, when you're saying that you're here to help, I mean, you're only one person.
So you can do as much as you can, and you're providing the videos, you provide, vegan recipes, you provide daily food tips, you provide a day in the life, you're giving content and you're not charging for that. So there has to be some balance.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, I think it's a respect of your time. The knowledge didn't just seep from the skies. The vegan gods didn't say, bless ya, You have to research. You have to go through the books. You have to go through the internet. You have to second check. You have to go through it all.
That's the funniest thing I've ever seen you do.
So, respect to you, because that's time and effort.
Thank you, man.
It's not magic. You have to put in the time and effort to be able to offer advice that potentially will positively benefit people's lives. That's not a joke. That's not a small thing to come by.
Yeah.
So how has it been working out so far? Because this is actually really recent, because Easter was just happened, and now this is you. So I'm excited. You're my first podcast, and this is your first sort of venture out into the world as legit Hipster Veggie.
Yeah, as like a business, as my own business. Yeah, no, it's been really cool. Really, really cool. Slow at times, not easy. But is it worth it? Yeah, 100%. I don't have to wake up at 5. I used to have to wake up at 5 a.m. to get to school. What the fuck? That's not life. So, being able to wake up at any time I want. And, I've got clients who are in LA, some are in New York, some have children. One of my clients has children. She's a single mom. She goes to university and she has a job. And she's like, Respect. Is there any way we can fit that in? I'm like, girl, we can fit it in whenever you want, whatever time. And it's nice to be able to do that, being if it's midnight or 3 a.m, whatever's easier for the person. And that's cool, because I'm able to do that, because I don't,
So how does the consultation work? So I come to you, Hipster Veg, bless me. Yeah. How does this work?
So it's, through email, people will contact me and be what's the deal? Back and forth a couple of times. And then it's all done over Skype.
Oh, okay,
so
cool.
It's all from the comfort of their home. So I just want the person to feel comfortable, because a lot of the times it's not easy to ask for help, at all.
Absolutely.
Right? So
absolutely.
As soon as someone sends me an email, I'm I respect this person so much. And I give, they'll pay me for things, but I'll still give a couple of consultations for free and stuff like that. So yeah, that's a big deal when I see an email come into my inbox and they're asking for help. I'm like, wow, you've taken that big step and been I can't do this on my own. Give me a hand. And
it's an admittance of flaws, which is never easy to do. You're admitting that you're admitting an acknowledgement you're not doing something right and you want to correct it. And in this day and age, that is hard. That is hard for a lot of people. Okay, so I'm not trying to get a free consultation. By the way. So
you can if you want.
I'm coming to you. I'm like, yep, I want to change my diet. What happens next?
Okay, so tell me a little bit about what medications you're on. Tell me about what you've been... Write me a food journal for the past 7 days.
What does that look like?
So literally everything that you've eaten, from the moment you wake up in the morning. What did you drink? Did you drink water? Did you drink a cup of tea? Or did you have a breakfast? Did you have porridge? Even the little things that you nibble on.
Right, okay,
once people start to write that down, then they're like, wow, I nibble a lot. I've heard that a lot. I don't eat a lot, but I just like snacks. I like to nibble. And I'm just like, I got you. So once people start to write that down, that's the first step of them being like, shit, maybe that's why I feel a little bit like this and that. So they start to clock it themselves. A lot of this year is just me holding their hand. People start to see it. They just need the tools to do it. And that's all I'm there for, to just be have a look at this. What do you think? So we look at that. We look at their family history. Do your parents have cancer, heart disease, diabetes? All the Punjabi people like diabetes, heart disease, cancer.
Right, yeah.
Those 3 things. Those are 3 diseases that plague our community. Polycystic ovary syndrome is a big deal.
In our community? Or just in general?
Do you know what? I was looking at studies in India about polycystic ovary syndrome. There's just not a lot of resource to research this stuff.
Oh, of course. Okay.
So I don't know. But one thing I do kind of want to talk about polycystic ovary syndrome, and it's something that I've never said open, but seeing as we just being honest right about now, I'm just going to say it in it. Polycystic ovary syndrome. So it's an imbalance of male hormones in a woman.
Right.
And it leads to things like irregular menstruation, no menstruation in some cases, so no periods. It leads to acne and other skin problems, heart disease, obesity, abdominal obesity, which I think is something that we should
Interesting. Okay.
we should also speak about that. That's something that does plague the Punjabi community in particular, and it also leads to.
You just made me suck in my stomach there.
Yeah,
Listen.
me too. I'm just like got
Just
my
changed
high waisted
I
up.
just changed my
Let's just-
posture there. Okay, yeah, carry
No,
on.
we'll talk about that. It's an
Yeah.
interesting one, and it's very important. And also the final thing that comes with polycystic ovary syndrome is irregular hair growth.
Right.
Right.
Okay.
I don't know how much you know about polycystic ovary syndrome.
I'd call myself like novice, beginner at best.
Okay. Have you heard of it before?
Yeah. I know what it is.
Okay.
I know people who have had it or who have had it. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, cool. So polycystic ovary syndrome, yeah, it is something that I don't know if it's more prevalent in the Punjabi Sikh community, but you know, I've seen a lot of Sikh women who do have it. Now, okay, we spoke about self-love. So people who have polycystic ovary syndrome, they grow a lot of hair, like typically like on their face, and even on like the arms, it will grow a lot thicker. I have facial hair in it, like I got little sideburns and stuff, but it's not like polycystic ovaries. It's not like
No, it can grow into a full-grown beard. I've seen it. Yeah.
So like I shouldn't, as a woman, like men and women are biologically different. I will never grow a beard, no matter how much, if my insides are healthy.
Right.
So with polycystic ovary syndrome, I have heard a lot of. I don't know how to say this without being. Okay, I've heard a lot of like Sikh people, organizations, maybe not a lot, but a few. Let's say, let me reword that. So yeah, I've heard a few Sikh organizations or Sikh personalities be like, you know, just love yourself the way that you are. You're fine the way that you are, right? So in the context of like a woman with facial hair.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
So I find that really problematic, because then those women are like, oh yeah, I love myself, like this is self-love. But then it's like, that's problematic because you're just accepting the way that you are with your flaws. Do you know what I mean?
Okay. So your challenge is with the line between self-love versus you have a condition that needs to be addressed.
Yeah.
Okay. And that's
so
fair
it's
enough.
like self-love versus I am the way I am. I'm just going to be the way that I am.
Yes.
Right? What I think should be done is in these situations, give people the tools to be like, this genuinely, that's not how we are created to be. Women are not created to be like that. Otherwise we would have beards, right?
Yeah.
But we're not. So why is it that your body is doing that to you? Because there's, you know, your hormones
There's
are
a
imbalanced.
condition.
Yeah,
Right.
that's a big deal, and it needs to be reversed. So let's just have a look at it, because self-love, true self-love, isn't just about accepting the way that you are and being like, meh, I've got, I don't know, diabetes. It's all right. Like, I'm just gonna deal with it, because that's, you're measuring yourself up against a sick society. Like, it doesn't make sense. That's not a measure of health. So just being like, yo, okay, I've got polycystic ovary syndrome. Like, let me see if I can just do better tomorrow. Like, let's see if I can just start doing a little bit better. And it doesn't mean like go vegan. That's not what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Just like, you know, just do better than you were doing yesterday. And that's something that I feel really passionately about with polycystic ovary syndrome, because I do feel like a lot of sisters are just like very accepting of stuff like that. And I just don't think we need to.
If I can just ask you, when you say do better, what does that look like for someone with polycystic
ovary syndrome.
Yeah. So
PC.
I'll get it.
PCOS.
Polycystic ovary syndrome.
Yeah.
What does that look, when you say do better, what does that look like for them?
So it could be in terms of diet. Generally, dairy in this country has a lot of hormones in it. That is like a huge problem.
Of course, that's going to contribute. Yeah.
Exactly.
Okay, we're going into the matrix now.
Yeah.
I see it.
We're getting
I see
deeper.
it. Okay.
Uncovering the layers. So polycystic ovary syndrome, that is why I do think that there is a connection with the Punjabi diaspora, especially because we tend to drink.
Our relationship with dairy is like, bread and butter.
It's just different, innit? So yeah, I think that like that's why like my little theory is that like polycystic ovary syndrome is something that plagues a lot of women.
Have you been able to trial that, or is there anyone who would be willing to like go on the Hipster Veg game plan?
I would do that.
Yeah?
I would do that with like a group of like, I don't know, maybe like however many girls are down. If you have polycystic ovary syndrome and you're listening,
listen,
get at me.
If you're out there, get in touch with my sister and confidential between yourselves.
100%, always confidential.
No one needs to know about this, because just something I want to, without going too far off on a tangent, as a man, I try my very best to understand, and I personally don't believe I can, but I try my very best to empathize what having hair is like for a woman.
Yeah.
Because I own a clothing brand. I'm about fashion. I understand the expected norms of materialistic perception, and what that looks like. And for the most part, it is heavily about not having hair for women.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously, from a Sikh point of view, dharmic wise, we're taught to remain uncut with hair.
Yeah.
So now, if you're sitting in wherever you are on the spectrum, it's difficult. I guess what I'm trying to say is I feel for you, but at the same time, I can't fully understand what it means to go through what you go through. And I'm just being honest about that. Like, I got your back. However I can support, I will when I can. But at the same time, our battles are different. So you have to, you have to deal with what the world perceives as beauty. I have to deal with Bin Laden and,
you gotta deal with a whole load of...
not getting into Arms House.
For real.
Yeah. So it's funny because what a perception. It's hair, but what a difference it makes on me versus you.
100%.
But going back to your point of self-love and having a sense of self and appreciation, again, as a man, I think aggression or confrontation is easier for me to deal with, especially in that form.
Yeah.
It doesn't make it any better, because not everyone is as confident as I may be, but it's a different way to deal with it. But I can appreciate that as a woman, having to deal with an entire consumer market that is designed to tell you that you do not fit that model unless you're this way. That's hard, man. Like, really I feel for you. It's hard for me to even comprehend that, because I don't have an example of being able to experience that. But that's why I'm saying that if there are people, I'd be fascinated to see the findings, that if you believe you have something you can offer them to help work on that condition and improve that condition, they should hit you up. They should try that.
I would genuinely love that.
What research have you done, or what information do you have that, because it's about reduction, right? Is it it's a cyst, right, on the ovaries?
Yes.
So is that something that can be reduced and then eventually killed, or is it maintained?
So I think with the hair and stuff, it's obviously the hormone imbalance, but inside it's a cyst on the ovaries, and that can lead to stuff like fibroids, and just problems with fertility in general, like problems getting pregnant and stuff, which is just not something as a woman. Personally, I can't speak on behalf of all women, but that's an issue, and I wouldn't want to see like my sisters going through something like that. I would be very intrigued to do some work with some women if they are down for that, to see if like we can change that. I'm confident that it can be changed. The research that I've done a lot of research into fibroids.
Right.
And there's like a doctor, there's an organization of doctors called like the indigenous something about indigenous medicine, right? And they deal with like ancestral diets and stuff, and they have this diet plan called the electric food diet plan. So we spoke about raw foods. That's basically what electric foods are, like from Mother Earth. They have that electric magnetic force, and basically eliminating fibroids through an electric food diet. So it's doable. Just gotta be willing to like change your shit, which isn't easy.
Well, I think it's important to be honest about that. No one is saying this is a quick fix plan. This is, you are going to have to make some difficult, possibly difficult life choices and health choices. But if you commit to it, I think it's worth running the gauntlet. I think it's worth finding out, because if you're having to deal with this, and I can't imagine the psychological impact that must be for a woman to have to, especially if it's a full grown beard or anything, that ain't easy.
It's not.
Respect to you for holding it down.
Yeah.
If you don't shave it or whatever, and you're holding it down, fair play to you. But if you're offering an option that can help relieve a symptom to a condition.
Yeah, that's the thing, because it's a condition, right?
This is it,
It's about your health. It's about what's going on inside. Everything that happens outside or everything that you feel in your body, it's a warning sign from your body. And that's what I'm trying to get at. I think that's a really good point that you raised. I'm not saying that like having hair is ugly. I'm not saying that there's something wrong with it and like, oh my God, you should get rid of it, because that's not how women are meant to be. I'm just saying it's like, as a woman, we're not built with that imbalance of hormones. So maybe we should just look a bit into it. But yeah, for real, big ups to women who literally put their middle fingers up to these beauty standards and are like, do you know what? I've got a beard, I've got big eyebrows, and I love it.
Yeah.
Like that's cool.
Respect, yeah. And I think one thing you touched on there, and this is really important, if there's anything that I would say to really bring home, is sometimes we have to take the emotion out. And sometimes it is about the science and the logic. It's not about a judgment of appearance. It's not about a judgment of conditions or people's life choices. It's to say, look, you or I have a condition. And there are specific things we can do to relieve this condition. So let's try it.
Yeah.
When you take the emotion out, it becomes a much easier thing to understand.
Yeah, like it's not an attack on you. I'm
Correct,
not personally attacking
exactly.
you. I'm just saying,
Your
your
body was not designed this way. And that's why it's behaving in this way. And there's an option for you. Whatever that is, whether you suffer from gluten intolerance, whether you suffer from bloatedness. Oh, let's touch on that. You said about the bloated abdomen.
Literally blows my mind, this topic. I was talking to my dad about it this morning. Just like how...
Did he just rag or like put his head down and be like, what?
He's so lean. This dude is so lean. Okay. And I don't know how, but I'm just like... Yeah, because you look at his diet and it just doesn't make sense. But like, I don't know how he does it.
He's the Punjabi anomaly. We have those.
He is. Listen. He's like, here's our graph and he's right there, man.
You know what that is? That's that motherland DNA. That's strength. That breed, like my parents' generation, they're different. Yeah, listen to me, girl.
No, for real.
They're built differently.
Yeah.
And we may be the last that has clung on to those.
That's sad.
But yeah, it is. Of course it is. Because
really
any kids born here, I mean, weak asses compared to the stories you hear of your baba, your pradada, your bibi, and what they could do.
My little cousin, yeah, she's like, what, probably 15 now. Like when she was two, a toddler, must she could walk, yeah? She hopped up onto a tractor and fell down from a tractor, yeah? Do you know what she did? She got back up, she went like this and I was like... watching this whole thing out, I'm like, bruv, you're amazing. It's just the best. Yeah, you're right. They're a different breed, and my dad is the anomaly. So we were talking about abdominal obesity, right? And just with stuff like polycystic ovary syndrome, abdominal obesity is a big thing. So even going back to like, it's not just about the hair. Like these women will suffer from things like bloatedness, chronic bloatedness, acne, and problems with your periods, which is something that people just don't know about because periods are marketed as this horrible time of the month, your excuse to eat shit when you're on your period, which is just problematic because it's going to make you feel worse, right? So it's a bad cycle. So yeah, a lot of these things, again, it goes back to the measuring your health compared to a sick society. That's what we're doing in essence. So abdominal obesity, you look around at every auntie and uncle, come on, what do you see? Like a big gut, right? And it's very closely linked with cardiovascular disease. Very closely linked. This is a problem. And like, I don't know, when I was speaking to one of my friends about like abdominal obesity and he said it in such an interesting way. He was like, it's like your intestines are literally running away from your body. Like, do you know what I mean? Like your gut's out here because it's trying to like escape from your body. Like that's what your body's telling you with that. And I was like, raw, that's deep. Like if there is some truth in that, that's like really deep. Your body's in such a bad shape that it's trying to escape from itself. And yeah, like this is down to diet and lifestyle. Like alcohol is a huge factor in that, and alcohol is a deep topic in our community. Yeah. And just generally eating shit, like you said about laddus, matiai. Like we eat too much crap, and we eat too much in general, but we just eat too much crap. Also with like ancestral diet, we've come to this part of the world and we don't eat how our ancestors ate. Even eating like stuff like wheat, like kanak, roti. I know I didn't say that right. My Punjabi sucks, so please
you're good.
Kanak, is that how you say it? Kanak di roti.
Yeah, you got it. What are you worried about?
No, not worried, but just if I'm saying it wrong, please correct me.
So now you're making me think. When you say one word too many times, is it kanak, or here? Don't worry.
All right, cool. We got
Me
this.
and you understand each other. We're good.
That's all that matters. Okay, so yeah, when we're eating stuff like that, personally, I noticed I did have abdominal obesity, and I just thought it was normal for like years of my life. Very, very bloated. Had very terrible periods. And then when I switched kanak to spelt, I noticed like the biggest difference. Like as soon as I cut that out to spelt atta, which is an ancient grain, which is where wheat comes from. But the place that like that's what our ancestors would have eaten. If I've researched correctly, then our ancestors actually ate spelt grain, which is wheat. Yeah. But it's just the ancient grain, the untouched, grain. Like wheat is like a very bastardized hybrid version of spelt. If we started to like get spelt atta by the 20 is it 20 kg?
Asli atta, yeah.
Yeah. If we
elephant atta, yeah.
Elephant
Get the
atta.
bags. Listen, where can we get this from?
The thing, I'm still looking for big bags.
Okay.
Personally, I kind of want to make that happen. Like Hipster Veggie spelt atta. Like I would love to make that happen because I think it's just something that should be in every Punjabi's house.
Yeah.
And we would notice like an epidemic of health, and that would just be the best. That's like the dreams. Right now, I buy like 1 kilo bags.
Because that's what's available.
That's what's available to me.
And is it some like redunculous price as well?
£2.
Okay, so it's
£2.50.
reasonable.
Yeah, I'd say between £2 and £3.50, depending where you're going. If you're a little bit bougie, going to Whole Foods, like it's gonna be a bit.
Yeah,
I just get it from my local corner shop, right?
Yeah.
So the markup isn't like that deep, but yeah, it's just like a 1 kg bag.
So is that because of the genetic makeup of current day wheat?
Yes.
So as a result, it's causing this bloated abdomen.
Yes. And then when we look at stuff like gluten intolerances,
Yeah.
so there's this study, right? If I remember correctly, in America, this doctor or a group of doctors did a study and they tested like 400,000 people nationwide. And they looked at like a nationwide database of gluten intolerance. And they looked at the biopsies that they took from their small intestine, because if you have like degeneration of the villi in your small intestine, that's a sign of gluten intolerance or celiac disease.
Right, okay.
So when your villi in your small intestine, the things that absorb nutrients, when they're a little bit defunct or, they're going through degeneration, you're going to find it difficult to digest gluten properly. So they looked at all of these. Literally, Punjabi people were at the top with gluten intolerance across the whole.
Wow.
400,000 people. They looked at people of Israeli descent, Iraqi descent, Sri Lankan descent, Punjabi people, not even just Indian. That's what I found so insane about this study. Punjabi people were at the top of this list with gluten intolerance. And I was just like, right, it makes sense. This isn't what we're supposed to be eating.
Man.
That's deep, innit?
That's
deep.
Listen, because this entails a wider scale concern, because Gurdwara, from the Gurdwara to homes, we're talking roti, right? We're talking kanak di roti. So this has huge implications. This isn't a small thing. And, if you're telling me that the research shows that our community, considering the, fair to say, centuries of kanak we've probably had in our systems, because this is what we were mentioning off air, that it'd be good to discuss things that affect our community specifically, because correct me if I'm wrong, most nutrition, when you read the back of ingredients and instruction box and everything, when it talks about daily values for men and women, am I right in thinking that that's been mainly designed on the Caucasian?
Yes,
and
totally.
a Caucasian
correct.
lifestyle.
Yes.
And we are genetically inherently different. So therefore
different.
our dietary needs are going to be different, and what affects us and what impacts is going to be different. So when you're telling me that blows my mind, because that's such a staple I mean, I'm having roti tonight.
Yeah.
So it's so it's such a staple part of our diet.
Yeah.
But it's contributing to problems.
To literally the degeneration of us. It's contributing to the degeneration of your small intestine. Every single disease starts in the gut, which includes your small intestine. Whether it's cancer, whether it's allergies, whether it's heart disease, whether it's migraines, everything starts in the gut. If we're eating wheat, we're setting ourselves up for disease. And that's pretty much what we're being given in this country, and we're taking it.
Yeah. Wow.
That's what, it fucks with me.
So, well, listen, let's put a shout out to the audience. If you know anyone who can get hold of wholesale...
Please.
Spelt, did you say?
Spelt.
Yeah.
Or kamut or amaranth or even quinoa atta. I don't know if that would work. But yeah, spelt or...
what is it? By the way, what does it taste like? Spelt roti.
Yeah, that's one thing that I was going to say, by the way. Disclaimer, yeah. It's not as soft.
Interesting. Okay.
As thing. To me, it tastes the same.
Right.
Maybe it's because my... taste buds have changed over time and stuff like that, but it generally tastes the same, a little bit more stiff. But kamut, I haven't ever used Kamut, but if you guys know about Dr. Sebi, which I hope some of you guys who are watching this do, you would have seen that he speaks a lot about Kamut and ancient grains and stuff like that. And that apparently brings out a really soft roti. A Punjabi person, actually like one of the like 10 Punjabi people who interact with me on social media,
Right.
they messaged me with like a picture of a roti and were like, yo, I didn't use spelt, but I used Kamut and it came out really soft. And I was like, big up. Like,
Yeah,
that's
respect.
sick. Go you just taught me like something really awesome. I haven't used it yet, but yeah.
So those ones you mentioned, they don't contain the same properties that affect us the way wheat does.
I mean, yeah, so this is where labeling comes into it.
Right,
You
okay.
still need to look out for like organic spelt, right? And then you can get organic whole wheat spelt or organic white spelt, which has probably been bleached, but it's still organic.
Yeah.
But yeah, in general, wheat is the hybrid, bastardized version, and spelt and these ancient grains are the ones that we want to be ingesting.
So I want to touch on this a little bit more. So in terms of good foods for the Punjabi community or the Punjabi diaspora, are there any other common things that you've come across like that that's like, wow, this is such a staple part of our diet, but we would be a lot better off going for these variations of it or variants of it?
Sugar.
Okay, yeah.
White refined sugar.
Yeah, I agree with you on that.
Mate, it literally pokes holes in your intestines, again, coming from that gut. Like Hippocrates said it, do you know what I mean? Like every single disease starts in the gut, and so many holistic doctors from then has said it. If you're poking holes in your gut, like that means that, okay, so say if you're even drinking tap water, which I don't drink tap water. Everybody knows about that. I've spoken
Big up
about
Sakuraba.
Sakuraba. Oh shit. All right, I got a bit excited.
It's there, just turn it. It'll come up in there.
You get it. You guys already know
Shameless
the
brand
deal.
promotion.
I should get
You should get sponsored by Saka.
like, I need to hook that up because the amount of cases that are in my house, like to the top, like I need to get sponsorship. Big up,
So
Saka.
tell us about that. Why is that your choice of water?
So we've done like tests on this water. Like it's not just no empty. Like I like the packaging. Do you know what I mean? Like a lot of people are like, but how do you know? Like
Listen,
my tap water.
I was sold when you said you can get it in your local Indian shop.
Bruv, trust me.
I was like, oh,
Patel's Corner Shop has this.
I even said it to you. That's why when you came in, I was like, look, I tried to find your water, but I couldn't get it. But luckily, you had it on lock
Yeah,
anyway.
I always carry one of these bad boys with me. Yeah, so like there's been tests done on it by like friends of mine and stuff. And I have a video on it showing the test as well. Basically, you send like it's called electrocoagulation, and it's like you send an electromagnetic. Am I saying this right? Electromagnetic force maybe through the thing. Might be saying that wrong. You basically send a shock through the water, and we did it with like tap water in one cup, Saka in another. And basically what happened is like the particles start to separate, so you get to see what's actually in the water. With the tap water, it literally turns out like gund, man. Like it looks like sewage. Saka water is less parts per million, which means there's less like impurities in it. And it also just turned like a tinge of like yellow. Like it wasn't that deep in it. Smart water, please, if you're watching this, don't ever drink smart water. It's made by Coca-Cola.
It's chemical. Ain't it chemical anyway? It's a chemically produced water.
Well, yeah, when we sent that electrocoagulation through it, it literally turned into like non-fizzy Coke. It turned black, completely black. And I was flabbergasted. It was horrible. Water's also a deep one. So going back to the white sugar, if we're drinking stuff like tap water, which contains a lot of impurities, and a lot of heavy metals, what will happen is you'll get holes in your digestive system, in your intestines. It'll poke holes through it, and then these impurities are then able to go through those holes and resurface around the body. Generally they resurface, and the place that it will cause problems is when it recirculates to the brain, and this will cause other problems like mood disorders, namely depression and anxiety. And it's because we're just eating crap thing after crap thing after crap thing. So yeah, white sugar I think should either be replaced by honey, by date syrup, or by coconut sugar, which is literally a 1-to-1 ratio. It's like good.
Okay. Yes.
I don't know why
Big up
people
the good.
trust me. Like I don't know why people are so against this.
Listen,
I don't like it.
good
Tastes
in
great.
jar with a bit of ginger. I'll make
shit,
next
you're
time you're
going
down.
in.
I'll make it for you.
Yeah, man.
It's the one.
All right.
It's the one. So just on the Pani, when you're talking about things like a Brita filter and stuff like that, do they have any impact? Do they offer anything?
No, I mean, it doesn't get rid of the fluoride, and it doesn't get
Right.
rid of the heavy metals. It might get rid of something,
Yeah.
but it's not the things that you should be worried about.
And then how do you compromise between plastic bottle and the water? Because you've got no choice in that.
Yeah.
What do you do? Because I haven't done my research in it, but I understand that something out of the plastic over time does
It
rub off.
leaches into
That's
the-
it, leaches
yeah.
into the water.
So we leave all the, like, London never gets that hot, right? So
Yeah.
it's okay for us here. It's just left in my garage, which is always freezing, whether it's summer, whether it's always freezing. So this bottle, even now, it's really cold. So I kind of mitigate for that in that way as much as I can.
Because I know you're not supposed to ever leave plastic in direct sunlight with
Yes.
water, because that increases the leaching effect.
Yes, exactly. So mitigate it for it in that way. I mean, I would rather drink it from here. And I know plastic isn't great for the environment. I know that. But right now for my body, this is the choice that I'm making.
And fair play. And it's you making the conscious decisions, and I guess step by step, right? You put it perfectly, which is, what can you do better?
Yeah.
I think that's such a great way to look at it. What can you improve on? It doesn't have to be, challenge. it's not all or
Come out with
nothing.
a
Yeah,
bang.
it's not all or nothing. It's
Yeah.
okay, what's the one step?
Yeah.
And then maybe a week or 2 weeks from now, what's the 2 steps? And grow from there.
For real. Like when I say, like, so one of my clients, she was like, I just find it really difficult to get to the gym. And I'm like, all right, cool. Just go for a 10-minute walk.
That's
Start
it.
with
Levels.
that.
I love it.
Yeah, just start with that. Just do better than you were doing yesterday, man. And that takes so much pressure off of you. And it just means that you can just live a little bit more comfortably.
That's powerful, because we all need the wins. Wins are so important for self-esteem. And if you set the bar so high, and depending on your character, if you're already struggling with the weight of leaving your bed,
Yeah.
getting to the gym, it's the psych. And it's funny because there's research on this. It's the psychological step, which is I have to get up, I have to get dressed, I have to get my gym kit ready, I have to make sure I've eaten on time because I don't want to get a stitch when I train. I have to get in the car. Is there going to be traffic now? When I get to the gym, is it going to be busy? Then I have to train. Then I got to have a shower. Then I got to get changed again, and then I got to come home.
That sounds like a lot of steps.
And the other option is I just don't go.
Yeah.
So when you've got 10 versus 1, the mind naturally says, listen, chill, Winston, and just don't do anything. So I think you hit the nail on the head, which is one step at a time. Go for the walk. Commit to the action.
Yeah.
Create that growth. Well, listen, sister, I know you got to go because we've hit that time.
Have we already?
Yes, we have.
Oh my God.
It has been amazing. Thank you for coming through.
Let me just say, I didn't say this before, we didn't get time. But this is like a huge milestone for me.
Respect.
Like, for real,
Thank
this
you.
is like goals. Like, I wrote this in my journal like 2 years ago. I'm going to be on a Wootz podcast.
Oh,
I didn't put a date on it,
respect.
but I was like, when it's right, it's going to happen. And today's the day. So thank you so much for having me, man. It's been freaking awesome.
Well, we're going to get you in again because
Oh my gosh.
we ain't finished.
Dude,
There was a
we
lot
just
more.
touched the surface,
We just started to scratch the
man.
surface, but I know you got to go. So where can people find you?
Hipster Veggie across everywhere. Hipster Veggie on Instagram, Hipster Veggie on YouTube. Check out my YouTube videos. I give out so much free information. So check it out. It's like changed lives. It's been said to me. On Twitter too. So yeah, just search Hipster Veggie and I'm sure you'll find me somewhere.
Amazing. Well, listen, sister, thank you very much.
Thank you.
And I look forward to seeing you in the studio again
yes,
soon.
100%. I can't wait. Thank you so much.
Awesome.